Sir,
I
I
will.
didn't ask you about any of that. I asked you if you
I
understand that.
will, however,
Mr. Matson, don't interrupt me. I've muted Mr. Matson's device because he continues to interrupt me and not let me finish what I'm saying.
let me speak to.
I've muted Mr. Matson again because he unmuted himself and interrupted me.
The judge has had enough of this circus. He cuts through the nonsense, reminding the defendant that he doesn't care what movement he's part of or what new title he's invented for himself. The bottom line, he still broke the law. And the way the judge delivers it, calm, firm, and razor sharp, it's like a pin popping a balloon. All that inflated, "I'm not a person, I'm an entity" nonsense suddenly looks ridiculous when reality sets in. But here's the wild part. Instead of backing down, the defendant doubles down. He keeps trying here.
I am required to advise you at all stages of the proceeding that you do have a right to be represented by an attorney, and if you can't afford an attorney, the court will appoint one for you at public expense. Do you understand that?
I don't think you'd be violating your oath of office, Your Honor, by allowing me to the right to a fighting clause.
Sir, I didn't ask you about any of that. I asked you if you understand.
I will, however,
Mr. Matson, don't interrupt me. The question I asked you is whether you understand that you have the right to be represented by an attorney.
I do understand I have a right to be represented by an attorney or not. Yes, sir.
Okay. You've previously waived that right. As I said, I have to advise you that at every stage of the hearing. So I have to ask you again, would you like to be represented by an attorney at this point?
As I started to say, Your Honor, I don't want the representation. However, I will use the help of handling paperwork due to my means here and having access to certain things in paperwork. I will use your court-appointed attorneys just to help with some paperwork.
Okay, so you don't have a right to have the public defender's office do your paperwork or handle any of that. You have the right to have them represent you or not represent you. So that is your choice.
Not represent me, that's fine then.
All right. So you've previously been arraigned on the probation violation. Do you know how you want to proceed? So your options are you can plead to it if you want, which means you'd be admitting guilt. The other option is that I can set it for a hearing and we can have a hearing on the matter, and then I'll decide based on the evidence submitted at that hearing.
Your Honor, all due respect, I wish, are you working under oath of office today, sir?
Sir, I'm not going to answer these questions or deal with this. We've dealt with you before and your sovereign citizen arguments. I've rejected them all.
Citizen.
Sir, do not interrupt me. Do you want to have a hearing or do you want to plead?
I'll take your silence under your oath, Your Honor.
Okay. Do you want to have a hearing or do you want to plead?
I want the hearing. I want to go to trial. I want to go within the 90 days to a trial or sooner.
All right. So Sierra will need about a 1-hour hearing on a probation violation.
As well as I'd like you to have the arresting officers that arrested me on that day. I would like their sergeant to be dressed in uniform and at that trial on that day as well.
Trying to corner the judge with half-baked legal theories he probably picked up from some late-night YouTube rabbit hole. And folks, this is where judges earn their patience medals. Because while the courtroom could have turned into a shouting match, the judge stays cool, almost amused, like he's heard this exact routine 100 times before. Finally, the ruling comes. The so-called entity is treated exactly like what he actually is, a man facing charges. His arguments, his theatrics, his self-proclaimed status as something beyond human, completely irrelevant in the eyes of the law. The judge lays it out plain and simple. You're not special, you're not above this court, and you're not walking out of here today. And just like that, the reality check lands. Another sovereign citizen fantasy meets the hard wall of the justice system. These folks walk in thinking they've outsmarted centuries of law with a couple of buzzwords, but in the end, it always ends the same way, with the judge in control and the defendant left looking foolish.
All right, I think it will go more smoothly if you are here in person, so we will have you in person here from the jail.
All right, exactly what the hearing is going to be on that day?
So you've been charged with a violation of the terms of your probation.
Yeah.
For failing to report. So the hearing is going to be to determine whether or not you failed to report.
Okay, so it's going to be the trial that day.
Correct.
Okay, can I have the state police sergeant there at that trial?
What state police sergeant?
The state police sergeant of the arresting officers on the night of my arrest.
Who are the arresting officers?
I don't remember the exact names, but any state police sergeant in uniform would do.
Why do you want any state police sergeant to be present at the trial?
Just to show how arrests are made, and why they're made, and how they do the determination, how they bring people into jail.
Well, how is any of that relevant to whether or not you violated the terms of probation?
I believe there's a lot of relevancy there. I don't see where any of it's going to affect the courts in any way, shape, or form.
All right. So the issue that the court is going to determine has nothing to do with things that happened during your arrest. The issue is whether or not.
No, it's not about the arrest. It's about the arrest for the violation of probation as well.
All right. The only issue before the court that day is going to be whether or not you reported. So your arrest doesn't have any relevancy to that. So I'm not going to.
I beg to differ, Your Honor. I beg to differ because the jury is going to be a jury of my peers, and at this time,
sir,
you're not going to have a jury of my peers.
Sir, there's not going to be any jury. You're not entitled to a jury trial on a hearing about violating your probation.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I'm pretty sure that last time I spoke to you, you said that I had the right to a jury trial for determining if I was guilty for a violation of probation.
I've never seen you on this violation of probation.
I've seen you, or I've seen you just the other day, last week.
No, you didn't. A different judge conducted that hearing.
You're Michael Olsaver, aren't you? There was
yes,
Dan Sloan, and then there was you. I've seen both of you.
You did not see me last week.
I did.
And so you're not entitled to a jury trial on a probation violation. So again, we will have you back in person on.
Well, hold up then. So if I'm not entitled to a trial to determine if I'm guilty or not, this is a criminal court, isn't it?
It's a criminal court where you have already pled guilty to a felony and been placed on probation.
Because I was at risk of dying in this.
I've muted Mr. Matson's device because he continues to interrupt me and not let me finish what I'm saying. Mr. Matson, I was saying that this is a criminal court wherein you have pled guilty to possessing a controlled substance, and you were placed on probation. As a result of that, your sentence was to be placed on probation. Subsequent to being sentenced to probation, there was an allegation that you failed to report in accordance with the terms of your probation. That is an alleged violation of probation. There's no right to a jury trial for a violation of probation, so the court will conduct. Let
me speak to.
I've muted Mr. Matson again because he unmuted himself and interrupted me. We will have you back on April 8th at 3:30, Mr. Matson. This hearing is concluded.
Let me know if you guys.
All right, folks. Today's hearing is one for the record books. We've got a sovereign citizen who seems to believe court is open mic night. I mean, this guy will not stop talking. He interrupts, he argues, he tries to twist every word into some sort of gotcha moment. And the poor judge? He's just trying to get through the basics. The case itself is simple. This man skipped out on his probation officer. That's it. That's why he's here. But instead of just facing the music, he's determined to turn the whole thing into a circus act. The judge starts with something every judge has to say. You have the right to be represented by an attorney. If you can't afford one, the court will appoint one for you. Basic standard procedure. And what does our sovereign citizen do? He fires back with, I don't want representation, but I'd like someone to help me with paperwork. Now pause right there. Paperwork? That's not how lawyers work. Attorneys don't show up just to be your personal secretary. They represent you, or they don't. Period. But this guy honestly believes he can bend the rules to fit his own fantasy version of the law. The judge, patient as ever, shuts it down. That's not how it works, sir. But of course, instead of listening, the man just keeps going. He wants a trial. He wants officers brought in. He even demands that a sergeant show up in uniform for his probation hearing. A sergeant! For a hearing that's literally just about whether or not he checked in like he was supposed to. And here's where it gets messy. He keeps cutting off the judge over and over, so much so that the judge has to mute him. Think about that. This isn't some kid on a Zoom class. You've got a grown man in court being muted like he's disrupting a high school lecture. And yet, he doesn't stop. He unmutes himself, jumps back in, interrupts again. It's relentless. And at one point, the judge just lays it out plain. We've dealt with your sovereign citizen arguments before. I've rejected them all. That's judge speak for, Sir, I'm done with your nonsense. But does he stop? Of course not. He starts rambling about oaths of office, about how the judge is supposedly violating his rights, about how the system is against him. Folks, at this point, it's not even a hearing. It's a standoff. A standoff between a man who thinks Google gave him a law degree and a judge who's just trying to keep order. And here's the kicker. Instead of being held in contempt, instead of being tossed in a cell right then and there, the judge actually gives him another shot, schedules another hearing, says, all right, we'll do this again, in person, because Zoom court, it's chaos. It gives these people way too much freedom to derail the process, and this guy proves it. But let me tell you, if you thought this circus was bad, wait until you hear what he demands next. Because in part 2, this man doubles down, insists he deserves a jury trial for his probation violation, and drags the whole thing into even stranger territory.